Turns out we were wrong. It's not 10 new brain lesions plus the 3 tumors I already had. It's 13 new lesions. My right, wow, sorry. Just spoke to so many different doctors. I'm a little confused. Give me a second. My neurologist, and I assumed that it was 13 in total and 10 new ones, because I already had 3 before that were treated with radiotherapy and were gradually shrinking. But turns out that is not the case. There are 13 new brain lesions. So, as I usually do, let's start at the beginning and work our way forward from there. So I had an appointment this morning with my neurosurgeon to get the official results of the scan. And as you may guess, that is how I discovered it's 13, not 10. But quite a few things happened before I even got to the hospital. So first of all, I had to wake up at 5 a.m. because the appointment was at 8 a.m. And in order to get there, especially with the insane snowfall we had recently, I needed to get up earlier. So got up at 5, and the good news, the only piece of good news really in the entire thing, is that I didn't feel completely exhausted. Even though it was 5 a.m. for some reason, I felt well rested enough, and I was actually optimistic. I'm like, you know what? I've been dreading this for a while, but let's be positive. Instead of leaving for the hospital an hour earlier, I'm going to leave an hour and a half earlier, give myself more time. I can take breaks if I need to. I'll walk really slowly. Everything will be fine. Get dressed, leave the apartment. 2 blocks from my house, I throw up. And once again, throwing up is not pleasant, especially when you're throwing up strawberry flavored Ensure. And in fact, as I'm recording this, because I just got home from the hospital, I haven't really had time to clean up, so I can still smell in my beard the smell of strawberry flavored Ensure vomit. May not sound so bad. Trust me, it is. It's as bad as you could imagine. Ugh. It's kind of like a smell like goes in your nose and just kind of like stays there. It just won't go away. And yeah, definitely not pleasant. So anyway, threw up. Eventually recovered enough to keep walking, make it to the subway station, get on the subway, and unfortunately, because it's earlier than normal, there's more people on the subway heading to work and everything, so there were no available seats, and I'm just like, there is no way in hell that I can stand. So I literally just sat down on the subway floor, like on the train floor. Like at that point, I'm like, I'm super weak. I do not give a fuck. I will get back up once the seat is free. And after a couple stops, one of the seats got free, so I got up and sat there. And eventually make it to my eventually make it to my station, but I'm so busy coughing and feeling lightheaded and feeling like crap that I miss my station and only realize it 2 stations later, so I have to get off. And I'm too weak to just like walk to the end of the station, climb up one set of stairs, cross the bridge, climb down one set of stairs, and walk back to a bench and wait for the train. That as soon as I got off the train, I have to sit down for a couple of minutes to relax a bit and catch my breath. Once I feel slightly better, get up, make it to the stairs, barely make it to the top of the stairs while holding on to the guardrail because I'm super weak. At the top of the stairs, I'm like, I'm about to pass out. I need to sit down, so sat down on the subway floor. It took a couple minutes to relax a bit and recover. Once I felt somewhat strong, got back up, crossed the bridge, went back down the stairs, Somehow made it all the way to a bench without passing out. So sat down, slowly recovered while waiting for the train to show up. Eventually, the train shows up. I get on. Luckily, there's a seat this time. So, ride 2 stations, get off at the proper station this time. Luckily, there's an escalator, so I don't have to walk up the stairs because I don't know if I could have handled it. And at that point, I'm well aware, there is no way in hell I can walk 1 kilometer from the subway station all the way to the hospital, which is mostly uphill, in my current condition, in the current cold, because it was minus 17 this morning when I left. But, with the windshield and everything else, apparently it felt like minus 27. I don't know, it was cold as fuck. So I'm like, there's no way I can make it. Unfortunately, there's not that many taxis, just because people don't really take taxis. They mostly, either take Uber or they, take public transport. So I'm like, okay, it's way too cold. I don't have the strength to walk around until I find a taxi. So let me download Uber, because I don't use Uber. So download Uber, try to, get a taxi, because there's a bunch of different options, but they're all super expensive. The cheapest option to get from the subway station to the hospital, which is 1 kilometer away, is $20. And I'm like, that seems insane. Let me just risk it. Maybe it'll be cheaper with a taxi. So select the taxi option and wait about 10 minutes, only for them to tell me, sorry, no taxis available right now. So I just picked the cheapest option, which is Uber Pool. And that's like $20. So order that, wait, takes about 20 minutes for the Uber to get there. By the time I finally get to the hospital, I'm half an hour late. So I'm like, they better not say hey, you're late, sorry, you missed your appointment, come back another time, because I don't know, I probably would have thrown a fit and be like, you motherfuckers better let me see the doctor. I don't know. But anyway, luckily, everybody was late today because of the snow. And even the doctor was late. He hadn't even arrived yet. So we'll go to the waiting room, wait for a couple of minutes, catch my breath. And a few minutes later, doctor arrives. And luckily for me, even though I was late, I'm the first person on the list because I'm the first appointment of the day. So within minutes of him arriving, I'm in his office and we're talking. So that's where I got the bad news of, turns out it's not 10 lesions, it's 13 new lesions. And the reason why my neurologist and I got confused is because before I had 3 brain tumors, and looking at the scan, he could see 13. So it's like, well, I had 3. There's 13. That's 10 new ones. But it turns out we were wrong, because the 3 that I had before that were operated on, and by operated I mean radiotherapy, finally disappeared. So the 13 that are there are 13 new ones. So the good news is the radiotherapy worked. It took almost a year, but they finally disappeared completely. Bad news is I now have 13 new visible lesions. And that is an important point to make, visible, because given how many new ones there are and how quickly they grew, there are probably other ones that are just so small that we can't see them. So that was the bad news. It's not 10, it's 13. So I'm like, okay, what are the options? And he's like, radiotherapy is the only option that we have. I'm going to get you to meet a radiotherapist or radiologist so we can explain exactly everything to you, go over everything in detail. So just go back to the waiting room, and once he's ready, he'll call you in. So go back to the waiting room. Luckily, it only took a few minutes. The radiologist calls me in. So go to his office. He kind of explains the same basic stuff that my that my neurosurgeon explained to me. And, asked a bunch of questions, did a couple of tests and everything. And he's like, radiotherapy is the only option. The downside of radiotherapy is it causes swelling, which means you'll probably have to go back on Decadron, which you used last time when you had radio therapy. And unfortunately, that means you're probably going to have to suspend your immunotherapy treatments for a while. So I'm like, that's what I was afraid of. That is not good news. Are there any other options? Like, obviously, I want to do what's best. I don't want to ignore a problem. But at the same time, it's like, if we're fixing a problem by creating a problem somewhere else, that's not ideal. Are there any other options? So he's like, let me go speak to my colleague. I'll come back to with him, and then we'll discuss everything together. So he leaves the room, wait, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. Eventually, he and the other doctor come back, and they present the second option. So option number one is do the same thing we did last year with the 3 tumors I had, and do radiotherapy on all 13 of the lesions. The problem is with that, first of all, there might be some lesions there that are so small we can't see them yet. So even though we take care of those 13, there could be more that pop up that we haven't seen. Second bad news about that option, as I mentioned, was the Decadron. That type of radiotherapy causes a lot of swelling. Odds are I would have to go back on Decadron, and because of that, I would have to, for an indeterminate period of time, stop my immunotherapy treatments. The second option that they presented is, instead of just targeting individually each lesion, let's just do radiotherapy for the entire brain. That way, it's going to cause less swelling, because for some reason that type of radiotherapy causes less swelling. So odds are I won't have to take Decadron. If I do, it should only be for a few days, and it should be a very low dose, so it should not interfere with the immunotherapy. So that's great news. The other good news is, if there are smaller lesions that we're not able to see on the scans because they're just too small at this point, it's also going to take care of those at the same time. Plus, the sessions are not as long. For this type of radiotherapy, we're going to do 5 sessions, and each session is going to be like, maybe 5-10 minutes, so really not that long. Whereas if we did, specific one, like radiotherapy specifically for each individual brain lesion, it could potentially be like, hey, we're going to do a session of like an hour and a half. And given the fact that I'm coughing, I have breathing issues and everything, like that is definitely not ideal. So the whole brain radiotherapy seems like the best option with the least downsides. There's generally few side effects, minimal swelling. So I won't have to worry about the Decadron. I won't have to worry about pausing immunotherapy. Won't have to worry about, what if there's more micro lesions that we can't see. So that really seems like the best option. So some point within the next 24 hours, the hospital is going to call me, schedule an appointment to go make that special mask that they need to make like we did last time. So, when I'm in the machine, my head doesn't move and they can, do exactly what they need to do without having to worry. And then after that, they'll schedule the 5 sessions. So depending on the availability, either it's going to be before my next immunotherapy treatment, which is scheduled for the 3rd. If that's the case, then the immunotherapy treatment might be delayed by a week. If not, then it's going to happen after that next treatment, so start of March. Either way, it's going to be 5 sessions, and it shouldn't interfere with immunotherapy. The biggest interference there is maybe we'll have to postpone my next treatment by a week. That's pretty much it. So given everything, it could have been much, much worse. But it's still hard to not take this as bad news because, 13 instead of 10 is definitely not good. Potentially having smaller ones that we can't even see yet, definitely not good. Having to do radiotherapy, definitely not good. So it's like, even though, yes, it's the best outcome given the current situation, it still doesn't feel great. And the thing is, since I've been diagnosed throughout this entire journey, I've never felt like I was going to die. But given everything that's happened in the last few months, like, tumors growing in my lungs, cancer spreading to my liver, all these new brain lesions in my head, it just keeps piling on and getting worse. And it's like, I just keep waiting for that point where it's like things start turning around and getting better, and it's just not happening. It just keeps getting worse and getting worse. And it's like, I don't know, I'm honestly at the point where I'm like, maybe I will die. Like, I never really considered before, like, yeah, okay, it's a possibility. If it's what's meant to happen, I'm okay with death. It doesn't scare me. But it's like now, given everything that happened, like, I don't know. For the first time, I feel like this might be it. Like, obviously, we have no way of knowing. Radiotherapy should work. Worked in the past, should work again. Hopefully, the new immunotherapy will help for the tumors in my lungs and my liver and my leg. But it's just like, given everything that's happened over the last few months, like, the increase in tumors and brain lesions and everything else, and, vomiting way more than I used to, and struggling to eat even more than I used to, and not being able to work out for a long period of time. So it's like, now I'm like super weak. I can barely walk. When I go outside and do physical exercise, like, it just causes me to throw up because my body is so weak. And it's just like, it's gotten to the point where it's like, not that I'm giving up. That's not who I am. It's just for the first time since this started, I feel like maybe the end is coming, Maybe it's like, it feels like a possibility now, whereas before it was like, it's something that could happen, but it doesn't feel like it will. And now it's like, honestly, I don't know. So yeah, I still haven't, like, I just learned the news, still processing everything. Could definitely be worse than it is, but yeah, it's intense. So that's been my update for the day. As you can tell, my voice is kind of, I don't know, scratchy. I think it's just from being exposed to the cold, from throwing up, from being so weak, from talking to the doctors and everything. It's just like, I don't know, I feel like my throat just feels sore. So I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to support me, you can do that through the link in the description. If you want to help me spread this message to other people, please let me know if you have any suggestions in the comments. And thank you once again for being a part of my YouTube family. I appreciate you all very much. I love you all very much. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you in the next video.